Okay, here we are. She's peeling off. You can also decide to let it stay on there and sit until it dries and then pull it. But there we are. We have a nice print, a nice grunge, because we had all that stuff. All this on there. I love it. For me, for my style. Hey y'all, happy Saturday. Welcome to my channel. I'm Robin McClendon. I'm a mixed media artist. Been on YouTube for over a decade now. Can you believe it? Time just really goes. And I focus here on gel plate printing, so monoprinting processes, bookmaking. We do journaling, you know, various book structures, mark making, collage. So those are the kinds of things we focus on here across the various projects that I share. So if you're new to the channel, please stick around and hang out a minute and see if you like what I have to offer. And for those of you who are coming back, thank you so much as always. We're over in Premiere chatting it up right now. I love Saturday mornings. I love hanging out with you guys. And even when I'm traveling, I'm always trying to get on my Saturday premieres with you all because you guys are the best. And so today we're going to get back into the book. You know, we've been working in our journal, or our book as art actually, which is mimicking all the techniques that we've done, that we're going through in my book. And so we're going to continue with the techniques. The book is Gel Plate Printing for Mixed Media Art. For those of you who are not familiar with this book, it came out last October. We've sold more than 10,000 copies. It's doing very well globally. It's now being printed in a second language, French, so that book should be out pretty soon. And yeah, it's exciting, but we really focus in on various gel printing techniques. So this week, we're focusing on grunge photo transfer. So this is the chapter. So we're doing grunge photo transfer. And did I say my name was Robin McClendon? I said, welcome to my channel, but I don't know if I said my name. So yeah, I'm Robin. And the reason why I focused on grunge in this book is because, first of all, this book was written for an audience of all various levels. So as a beginner, you should be able to do this. As an intermediate or an advanced, there should be a lot of stuff in here and a lot of inspiration, because it's not just gel plate printing. It's also some prompts and ideas about thinking like an artist, and, you know, like what your subject matter is going to be. So there's a number of things going on in this book. But with that said, in order to do like really what one may call perfect jelly plate transfers or photo transfers, it takes a lot of practice. You really have to have some good skills on the gel plate already. Otherwise, you're going to have too much paint. You know, you won't have the pressures right. You won't probably have the right paints and the right paper. It's a whole thing. But if you embrace the grunge, if you embrace the prints that are not that great, the ones that don't look like the photo, you know, kind of thing, and look at it from the standpoint of it's great collage material, you know, I can use this in other ways, then I feel like it really leads to a more successful experience. And then as you continue to work with it, you're not judging the fact that the print doesn't look so-called perfect, if there is such a thing. So we'll put perfect in air quotes. Though you may be pulling some amazing things and you can use them in your work a lot of different ways. The other reason why, as a professional artist and a working artist most of my career, I also wanted to emphasize grunge photo transfer, because I really value my own voice, my own language, my own style. And those of you who've been in my community for a long time, you know that I'm always encouraging you all to do the same thing. I love teaching, but I love teaching in a way that helps you to find your own voice, to find your own style. I don't ever want it to be where you're learning something and the only thing you get from me is how to make something exactly like me. Of course, you're going to imitate what I do in the beginning. We all do that. When we learn, you have to, imitating your teacher is a part of the learning experience. But I want to set you up that you can quickly start finding your own voice and finding your own style within it. So because that's important to me, there's a rule of thumb out there when it comes to using photos in your work. So as a collage artist, as a mixed media artist, to take another person's photo out of a magazine without their permission to use it is basically taking their work. But you can take photos from public sources as long as it doesn't have a copyright protection or something that says don't use it. But you have to alter it at least 40 to 50%. There's guidelines. Different states have different guidelines. There's been precedents in courts where photographers have gone and sued for the use of their work without their permission. And there's a guideline that comes down. And so was it sufficiently distorted or not? That's the question. And that idea can have its own percentages, whatever the individual applies to it. But for me, as long as it's at least 50% altered, so it doesn't really look like it any longer, that's probably a pretty good rule of thumb. I don't have a tendency to use work out of magazines or use other people's photos, so I kind of escape it all entirely. But with this technique and with my name being on it and being a part of my product, I thought it was important for me to share with you techniques that didn't deal with something having to be 100%. And I know I talk about a bit about this in the book. So just keep that in mind. The other thing when it comes to using the photos and the grunge part of it is, just think about how, in fact, those things really do work into your art. Why are you using those particular photos, etc.? So how does this actually, fit into my work? So that's the other question you want to think about. Like, so are you just doing this technique, for the fun of it, just to learn it? How do you plan on using it in your work? That's important. Now, I didn't deal with it in the book because it's a whole nother layer, but you can use, I mentioned it, but I didn't show it as a step-by-step. There's a whole nother layer that you can do to photo transfer, and that is making your own laser prints, laser copies of things, of your own photographs and what have you. And then it's amazing. You can use your own photos on the plate and go from there. It's a little trickier than magazine images, but it's totally doable. It just takes patience. It just takes, once again, getting the laser prints that work best for you, the paper, getting the pressure right and all that kind of stuff. But there is a world, if you really like to work with your photos and you want to reproduce them into your art using this process, you can use laser prints of your own photos. So I want to put that out there. But this technique is a labor of love. You want to be patient with it. So where we're going to go with this today is, this is kind of a sample image that I did. So what I did is I started off with I made a surface that was really grungy. And then I did the photo transfer technique over top of it. And I think the more you can add to the grunge, the better. So this is what the original magazine looked like. And I mean, she's looking really close to it. And who knows? I mean, this is probably maybe only 30% of a change if we could just consider the backgrounds and stuff like that. But of course, if you rip this up, you start putting other collaging things on it, you make it your own, then you can take it to the next level. And because you've already created a certain level of imperfection, or just, not imperfection, let's not call it that, a certain layer of sort of grunge or texture and interest, it already starts making this a lot more your own. So we're going to explore that. So what I did is I took, first what I want to do is just get a few backgrounds going. Because I want to, let me just get some of the photocopy paper here. This is, this is Hammer Mill premium color copy paper. So it's for color copying. It's not photo paper. Okay. So what we want to do is want to get the plate going a bit here. So I want to make some backgrounds. So I'm suggesting that we make our backgrounds with ink pads. Ink pads are definitely one of the unsung heroes on the gel plate. It's not used a lot, but it really performs in some really amazing ways. So you just want to get a good layer down there and then go ahead and brayer it out. That way you get rid of any of those, the blocks that come from, you know, stamping it. And then we're just going to pull it. And that's going to start off by giving us a nice, we're just going to pull some grunge backgrounds. Now this plate, this particular gel plate I've been using a bit. And so it has its levels of imperfections in it. And the thing about the ink, it's so thin that it will pull up levels of imperfection. I always try to keep one side of my plate pretty unused so that I can have less of that going on. So I think there's a little something down here. Let's get this off. So sometimes little pieces of paint left on will show up. Okay, but here's one pull. Let's just do a few colors just for the fun of it. This one is Whisper, the name of it. So just get your plate going and just go ahead and start pulling some sheets. And then that way when you're ready to pull your image, you got some interesting backgrounds going. This is just a fun way to think about the backgrounds. As opposed to using acrylic, you can use the ink pads for the background. We're going to use the acrylic to pull the image. You can pull images with ink pads. It's just, it's another one of those tricky things. You just kind of have to have all your variables right. Okay, let's put that up there. And let's do another one. Let's do Saddle. And this just is helping to get our plate feeling happy. And then it allows us to do a couple of pulls also, because we'll have some backgrounds ready to go. Okay. 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 I do love doing this transfer method. It's fun. We'll let that pick it up, and then I have one more here, Bamboo. Let's try it. Any stamp pads will work. So any ink pads that you already have will definitely work. So there we have that. These are ones that actually were given to me. I never purchased them. These are the close to my heart. I think this is a brand that is kind of like an affiliate thing or some kind of membership based thing or something like that is how you get these. I'm not sure. I've looked them up. They're not, sometimes it's hard for me to close it when I close it. They're not readily available. Oh boy, sorry about that. In the stores. I don't think you can just get this on Amazon or anything like that. When I've looked them up before, I couldn't. And when I checked into it, it was like one of these kind of programs. It's water-based dye ink, acid-free. But so if you want to know what I'm using, but any of the stamp pads and stuff that you have, you know, is going to be fine. You know, Tim Holtz's or archival brands or any of them. Why is this one hard? I hate to take your time, but I don't want to leave this. Apologize for that. I don't want to leave them open. Okay, so we have 4 backgrounds. 1, 2, 3. Wait a minute. No, I did 4. Where's the 4th one? Oh, I think I reprint. Did I reprint on? Oh my goodness. Let me do bamboo again. I think I reprinted. I was wondering why it came out so much darker. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's just do this. I think I reprinted. I printed on top of the one I had already done. But that just goes to show you how you can just build up color with your ink pads as well, which is pretty cool. So. If you don't want to mix the colors, it's good to clean the brayer off, what have you, in between, because the colors will start mixing. I don't mind for what we're doing right now, but just, you know, heads up, they will. So just use a baby wipe or something like that and just clean your brayer off. You'd be surprised at how much is on there, even when you go to brayer it off. Like, for instance, my brayer here, it's going to have quite a bit of color on it still. So, you know, you can clean it in between, and then that way you don't muddy your colors if they're colors that you don't want to start blending. And the same is true with the plate. You can wipe the plate off too. Okay, this is right. This is what bamboo looks like. Okay, there we are. Okay, so now I have some images that I've already pulled. What's important is to try to get high contrast images, black and white as much as possible, you know, gray tones a little bit in between, but high contrast images. And, you know, also you want to get them out of magazines where, a lot of times fashion magazines or home magazines, you want them to be a glossy paper. Normally these papers are sort of a clay-based paper, which absorbs the inks really nicely, which gives them like really good photo clarity. Well, that also acts as a really good resist for this technique between the ink and the backing of the paper. So you just want to try to get high gloss pictures, high contrast. And so when you're looking for images, you want to sort of, you know, look in those kind of books as well. But, you know, you can get those at the library for what, 10 cents a magazine or something. Or maybe you have friends who, you know, get subscriptions or something and, you know, want to get rid of the old ones. There are a lot of other old books that have papers on them that will also transfer. That's just an experiment. You just experiment and you find which ones. Some of the older National Geographics work nicely. Some of the newer ones don't. So you just have to kind of find, you know, just play around, find what works for you, and then you'll know. And like I said, you can also do your laser prints. And that is, you do everything the same. It's just that it's back to what the laser copier that you used. Some work better than others. It may be the papers. It's kind of hard to say because I've done them and had success. I've done them and didn't have success. It's just, especially if you're like going to, you know, outside sources like Office Depot or FedEx, Kinko's, and you don't know you're getting the same machine every time. But I don't want to discourage you. If you have your own laser printer, I now do have one, then you can play with it and see how yours works and, you know, get it down. So you saw I just put a strip of color. You don't, once again, those of you who are familiar with gel printing and know me to talk about it, you don't want a lot. You never just want a lot of color. You want thin coats. So you always brayer out until you have a nice thin coat. If it's a little bit too much, brayer it off and then just come back again until you can kind of pretty much see a nice even layer. You still see paint. That's not too much, not too little. So here again, it's honestly just playing to see what's going to work. Sometimes it takes a couple of pulls, I find, for the plate to decide it wants to do it. Sometimes you get it on the first one. So you want to do a nice flat hand back and forth. Not too much pressure on any one finger or another. Nice and smooth. You don't want it too hard. And if you lift it up, so you can lift it up, you can start seeing, okay, good contact, because I can see that things have been left behind. So let me just get one of these and put it down. Now, this is still moist enough. There's enough moisture on this to go right in and pick it up. If it had started to dry a little bit more, or you're finding you're having a hard time pulling, then what I would suggest is let it dry and then come back with a matte medium and roll that out very, very thin and then pull it. And the matte medium will pull up the image. So in this case, if I wanted my background to be one of these, one of the colors from my stamp pad, then I would use matte medium. Let's say I'm using a blank piece of paper and I'm not already putting a color down, then it's like I don't have a color on it already, then you could actually put a color down on top of the image and pull it. So there's a lot of ways of approaching it. It's not a one and done. It's like once you learn the process, you'll come up with, a lot of creative ways to do it. So I'm getting a nice pull here. So there. A little bit of blotchiness in some of those places. That happens. But you can see we've got a nice pull of that image. And I really like it with the stamp pad behind it versus the paint, because I feel like it looks a little bit more like photo. It has more of a photo quality to it than when you have two layers of sort of paint. It looks more painty. I don't know. I like using the oh, I could see some of the old print still down there. Oh, that's funny. I like using, so I guess what I'm going to do also now is I'm going to pull and clean this. So let's just get a white and clean the plate, because it's almost got a double print here. The one that I pulled before her, a little bit of her was still sitting on the plate. So if you look there, you can kind of see it. See her lips, part of the necklace and stuff, and then that. So it's cool. Okay. Let's just put some white down and just pull up. I probably have a few ghosts down here. Let's just pull it up. And ghosts are just what's left behind on the plate. And that just allows me to clean the plate. And if for no other reason, it just creates a background. So I'm just using the white just because that's what I put my hands on. You could use any color to clean your plate with, whatever you want your background to be. I could actually, since we've done this, I think what I'll do now is I'll use this as a background so you can see the difference between paint and the stamp pad. So we want to make really good contact. So it's a good opportunity for me to show you the difference. So you just really want to smooth your hands. A nice flat palm, or you can use a Baron. I don't know if I have any of mine right here in front of me. Generally they're right over here, but I've been traveling a lot, and a lot of stuff has been moving, so I don't see it. But I normally use the palm of my hand anyhow, because I like to feel what the moisture and stuff is doing on the plate. Okay, so we've gotten a bit of what was left from that first one is still coming up. That's interesting. And then we got what was left here. So this just, you know, can be a background for another print. It's just a good grunge background. So let me do it again because I wanted to have one that I could actually print on top of. So let's just pull another sheet. Okay, just try to have as light a touch as possible so you can have some even strokes. Ready? And then we'll go back and pull an image on this, and that way you can see the difference. But it's a lot of fun, and I would encourage you to play around with it. It does help to hone your monoprinting skills, trust me. You do this enough until you're able to pull good prints, then you're really teaching you how to get smooth brayering. It'll teach you how the right amount of paint to always have on the plate. It really starts helping you deal with the delicate touches of the plate, how to have a lighter hand with the plate, and that'll help you get more out of it. So that's just nice white on white. Okay, so let's use this raw umber again. And let's use this one. Let's see how this one comes out. So just a nice little bit. You don't need a lot. Just kind of mixing it on the plate a little bit just to get it so that it wasn't sticking. Okay. Let's put our print down. And when you put this print down here again, want to get it nice and flat. Just nice, smooth all over your hand. Not, you know, use your hands to smooth nicely. You do not have to press very hard. Just light, but just make sure it's smooth. You're getting good coverage. You don't want it to stay on there too long because you don't want it to start absorbing too much of your paint, because you want to be able to put it right down and pull it unless you you know, want to take more time with it and then you want it to dry and you can come back and pull it. I'll put this down a little crooked. It's okay. But right there, I know I still had enough moisture after pulling it all, and yeah. Okay, here we are. She's peeling off. You can also decide to let it stay on there and sit until it dries and then pull it. But there we are. We have a nice print, a nice grunge, because we had all that stuff, all this on there. I love it. For me, for my style. Now, I know that's not everybody's style, so you could do it where that wasn't happening. But yeah, we've got good definition of her ear. You can see that. That was where some of the lighter areas are. That's really good definition there. So there we have it. So this is with paint. I don't know if you can tell the difference. It's subtle. It's easier to see on the to the eye versus in the camera. It's kind of hard to tell. It's a subtle difference between the ink pads and the paint when you look at it visually. But there we have it. So yeah. Alrighty, so here we have it. Let's look at what we've done. Well, we didn't do this one together. This is one of my test ones, but there we have that one. We have this one from that photo. You can see how it's the same, but it's already, you know, it's been changed in some, but not enough. Like this would definitely need to be maybe colorized, you know, maybe using other collage elements around it. Of course, we'd have to get rid of Max Mara. That's a brand name. But and probably do some other stuff to it, but you could definitely use this as a foundation to start with. This one is good. This one I think is a little bit more, anything that's sort of off the page and to the side, I think it gives a lot more area to even, you know, grunge it more or to distort it more and use it in your work. So yeah, and was that it? Thought we did another one. Guess we didn't. We did these two. Okay, there you have it. So there we are, grunge photo transfer using our really yummy ink backgrounds to then use acrylic on top. So that's a little variation from what I showed in the book. But please thumb the video up if you enjoyed this. If you're new to the channel, hit the bell, hit all so that you get notifications, and I invite you back to hang out with me. And yeah, for everyone who's already always here, thank you for hanging out and have a great week. Happy creating. Love you all, and until next week, I'll see you soon. Have a great time in your studios. Bye-bye.